Good morning, everyone. I hope that everybody is having a good day. It's a bit drizzly here, but it's still a good day. And you know what they say? They say April showers bring May flowers. Well, I'm counting on it because I see a lot of signs of life out there, and I am so pleased. But anyways, today, I decided that I'm going to do something that I've done before with you folks, but it was way back last year, and I want to make this and gift it to a couple of the ladies at my church. Anyways, and I ran out too, so I kind of need some. But I hope that you will want to stick around for a little portion of my day, and I will talk to all of you in just a little while. So what I have decided to do is to make some more chocolate syrup, because I kept giving mine away, and so I don't have any, and I just thought that there's a few ladies at church that would really enjoy the chocolate syrup, especially because they have families. So anyways, that's what I got going on the stove. In that pot right there, I got my canner all nice and hot and ready to go. And just about ready to start filling up those jars. So I will bring you back when I'm ready to do that. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Would you like the recipe? Now, this recipe originally came from Homestead Tessie. And she has been making this recipe, she said, for years and years and years. And it is not a USDA approved canning recipe. But she's never had any problems. I didn't have any problems. And to be honest, you know what? You eat it up way too fast for that to be a problem. But what it takes, and this is a doubled recipe, is 3 cups of water and 6 cups of sugar, 4 tablespoons of honey, a half a teaspoon of sea salt, 2 tablespoons of vanilla, and 3 cups of cocoa. So you just put that all in a pan, you whisk it together, and you heat it on the stove until it's totally combined. And you cook that for about 15 minutes, and hey, you're ready to go. So I'll bring you on back in just a couple minutes. But this is such an easy recipe, and it's not a recipe for canning that's going to take you all day. It's very quick, because literally all you do is dump all those ingredients together, get them dissolved, bring it up to a nice hot syrup, and hey, as long as your jars are ready, you're ready. And I put it into a cup measure because it just makes it a little less messy. Let's put it that way. And that's just how I fill up my jars. And you're supposed to leave, I believe it's, I'm going to check to make sure. Now I'm second guessing myself. A 1/4 inch of headspace. And, oops, it's been a while. So, have to debubble it. But this is just such a good syrup. I really enjoy it. It truly does taste like the Hershey syrup that we used to buy when I was young and at the grocery store for our chocolate ice, to put ice cream in to make chocolate milk and things like that. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to continue filling it up, and I have to go get more. So I'll bring you back when I'm all done. Now, one of the things that I wanted to say, because I have all my jars in there, and clearly I do not have enough to fill up one more jar. But this syrup, you can actually just put it in your refrigerator. You don't need to can it. You only can it so you can put it on your shelf. So I am going to take this little bit of syrup, because it's probably about 3/4 of a cup of syrup here, and put it in my refrigerator. So anyways, I'll show you what they look like when they're all done. For today's devotion, our scripture verse is in Colossians chapter 4, verse 6. Let your speech always be with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer each one. Today's scripture verse gives the Christian perspective on conversation, because quite honestly, the way believers speak has a large impact on the effectiveness of our message. What we say should add value to the conversation. Our words should be uplifting or helpful. We should be gracious in our speech, and we should have the ability to answer unbelievers' questions with civility. Peter tells us the importance of this in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. But in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect. As believers, we should be able to communicate to others about Christ that includes both a positive presentation of the gospel and also the ability to contend for it. Like Titus 1:9 tells us, he must hold firm to the trustworthy word as taught, so that he may be able to give instruction in sound doctrine and also to rebuke those who contradict it. Just having a little Bible knowledge is not enough. Every believer should be able to present the truth of the gospel using respectable words and with a proper attitude. Another point I want to make is the importance of authenticity in our Christian behavior. Our behavior must always be consistent with the words that we speak. The old adage, do what I say, not as I do, has no place in the Christian life. Another point is that today's scripture verse is not just referring to the preaching of the gospel, but also to our conversation in general. A believer's speech, the words that we say, must always be filled with grace. Just like the words of Christ in Luke 4:22. And all spoke well of him and marveled at the gracious words that were coming from his mouth. And they said, is this not Joseph's son? Whether we are experiencing persecution, stress, difficulties, or injustice, whether it's with your spouse, your children, other believers, with unbelievers, or co-workers, in all circumstances, we are to make our speech full of grace, and it needs to be a habit. To speak with grace means to say what is spiritual, wholesome, sensitive, gentle, truthful, loving, and thoughtful. Paul wrote in Ephesians 4:29, let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification according to the need of the moment, that it may give grace to those who hear. Our speech is to act as a purifying influence, just as salt is purifying. It is to be gracious. It is to be a blessing to others, with the ultimate intent of bringing them to Christ, because God's grace has changed us. And with that, I want to remind you, life happens. Let's enjoy it. And what a privilege God has given us as Christians to be a blessing to others through our speech and our actions. Our speech is a powerful tool. Let's use it for God's glory. God bless, and I will talk to you tomorrow.